Hello everyone, today we will have two interesting stories. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics and the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listened to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail, broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. Before I start, I want to address the men. Don't forgive your wife for cheating. My wife cheated on me twice. After the first time, I took my wife back. I'm still very sorry about it. Maybe my life turned out differently. Then we lived in a rented apartment. We were friends with our neighbors. The neighbors were our age. We often spent time together. We had the same interests. We had children, and so did our neighbors. We spent the holidays together. When I was leaving on a business trip, I jokingly asked the neighbors to look after my wife. Well, as it turned out, the neighbor was looked after her. I returned home ahead of schedule. I didn't say anything to my wife. I wanted to surprise her. When I entered the apartment, I saw a naked wife and a man who was hiding behind her. My wife screamed that, "If you touch me, I will go to the police." At that moment, I looked at my wife's pitiful appearance. Then I looked at the pale man whose hands were shaking. Calmly packed up and left. I still can't figure out what my wife found in him. She seems to be a pretty girl, but she got involved with some squishy. I was very interested in how my wife looked into his wife's eyes, because they were good friends. I went to my hometown, got a job and rented an apartment. 6 months later, frequent calls from my mother-in-law began. She was trying to arouse pity. The main argument was the child. Allegedly, my son constantly asks where dad is, how he will grow up without a father, and so on. For full persuasiveness, my son was given a telephone receiver, and he asked me to come. My mother-in-law told me that my wife is young, she made a mistake. It's just stupid. She only loves you. Forgive her. As a result, I couldn't stand the pressure and forgave my wife. After that, many people condemned me and said that I made a mistake. Because a cheating wife doesn't deserve forgiveness. At that moment, I thought it would be better for them to sort out their wives. I'll clean up my family myself. Several years have passed. To say that I was happy, no, but there was an ideal in our relationship. My wife patiently played the role of a good wife and hostess. Every time I came home from work, I was greeted by a smiling, well-groomed girl. But I couldn't forget that betrayal. All the old feelings for her disappeared. I could have ignored her. I was shocked by her bright makeup and long nails. In general, I lived with her only for the sake of the child. One day, I will find out that my wife has found herself a colonel. I was the only one who didn't suspect anything. The colonel was in a good financial position. He showered my wife with gifts. I should have been on my guard already at the moment when my wife put on beautiful underwear before going to bed with me. I asked my wife, "Where did you get this from?" "I bought it," my wife replied. "I'm a fool. I should have thought I'd never bought her such expensive underwear." The colonel was not stingy and gave gifts to my son. My son was 14 years old. This is the age when money seems to be the most important thing in life. Our divorce went smoothly. My wife took her son and they moved to live with the colonel. I was making good money, but I couldn't compete with the colonel. Time passed and I became a stranger to my son. We congratulate each other twice a year. It's for birthday and New Year. Since adolescence, the colonel has been engaged in the upbringing of my son. I found myself another girl. I can't say I'm happy. But we live together. We are doing well. It looks like my wife's second infidelity broke me. What did my ex-wife say in her defense? I didn't have enough protection and money. Well, she has a lot of money now, although I don't think my wife lives very sweetly. The colonel has a rather sharp temper. Well, I'll get over it. God is her judge. I think we can end here. If you liked it, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's move on to the second story. Let's go! I met my wife when I was 20, 2 years old. My wife was 18 years old. I'll tell you right away, I fell in love to the point of unconsciousness. Even though my friends tried to convince me to leave her, because the rumors about my wife were not very good. But I was blind and didn't believe what they were saying about my wife. The first months of our relationship were perfect. But soon I heard a rumor that my wife had cheated on me. When I tried to talk to her, she replied that she only loves me. They're just spreading dirty gossip because they're jealous of our relationship. I trusted my wife, but I was still jealous, even for nothing. As a result, 3 years have passed and we decided to live together. But it's a pity that we didn't succeed. One fine evening, I felt very uncomfortable. I felt that something was wrong and went home to my wife. But my wife wasn't at home. When I was coming home, I saw my wife with another man. After that, I decided to put an end to it. I found myself a new girlfriend. She was sweet, kind, and most importantly, loyal. But I couldn't fall in love with her. A month later, I left her and returned to my ex-wife. 2 months later, we got married and had a baby. After that, I started doing business. In general, everything was fine. A favorite thing, a wife, a child. As a result, we lived for 2 years. One day our friends invited us to a party. I noticed my wife flirting with my friend. When we returned home, we had a conflict. But then things got even worse. A month later, she went to study in another city. I asked my own brother to shelter my wife for a while. My brother lived with his wife and child. A week later, my brother called me and said that he found my wife at home with some young guy. After what I heard, I was shocked. I packed up my wife's things and filed for divorce. At that moment, I started getting information. Like a snowball, I found out that my wife had been cheating on me all these years. She said she was living with me for the money. As soon as my business starts making good money, she will immediately file for divorce to sue me for half. I will not hide that the first month after the divorce was hell for me. I took my son to my place 3 times a week. One day I couldn't even stand it and called my ex-wife. After our meeting, we had sex. At our next meeting, I found out that my ex-wife has a boyfriend. She's been seeing him since our divorce. I decided to take revenge. I recorded our conversation with my ex-wife on a voice recorder. I found my ex-wife's boyfriend and let him listen to the recording. But of course, I told the guy the whole truth about her. He was shocked because she didn't tell him anything. Only now I realize who I married. I'm very glad that this person is no longer in my life. I've finally woken up from this crazy love. At the moment, I want to move to another city and start from scratch. I don't forget about my son. I even want to sue and take him to myself. Every time we meet, my son cries and doesn't want to leave me. It is obvious that the mother is busy and does not devote time to her son, despite my unfortunate experience. I haven't stopped believing in love. I'm sure I'll meet a good girl. She will be faithful to me for the rest of her life. That's the whole story. If you liked it, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Now let's move on to the advice of the author of the channel. Channel Author's Advice. I want to offer you some heartfelt advice as you continue your journey through life. Your experiences have been filled with challenges, heartbreak, and difficult decisions, and I admire your strength in facing them. First and foremost, always remember that your happiness matters. It's essential to prioritize your well-being and personal growth. You've shown resilience and the ability to make tough choices, so continue to do what's best for you and your child. Maintaining a positive relationship with your child is crucial. Keep the lines of communication open and be there for them, despite the challenges of co-parenting. Your child's well-being and happiness are deeply connected to your presence and support. Don't let past betrayals define your future relationships. While trust may take time to rebuild, remember that not everyone will hurt you as you've been hurt before. Be open to new connections and experiences, allowing yourself the opportunity to find love and happiness again. Lastly, forgiveness is a personal choice. It's okay if you find it challenging to forgive your ex-spouse entirely. What matters is that you've made decisions that protect your own self, respect, and emotional well-being. Continue to grow, learn, and embrace the opportunities that life presents. Your journey may have been difficult, but it's also made you stronger. Keep moving forward with resilience and the knowledge that you deserve happiness and fulfillment. Wishing you all the best on your path ahead. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.